Hello and welcome to another movie ranking video. I used to think ranking videos were stupid. Admittedly, I think certain subject rankings, like ranking every horror film starting with A and things like that, are just absurd. But movie franchises or even film remakes, I think are perfect for rankings. If you're a subscriber, then you know I rank a lot of horror-related franchises. This is because I watch so many horror films, especially in October, and I end up tackling a lot of franchises. And if you don't follow my October marathons or recap videos, then these ranking videos are a great way to share my thoughts on a film series. So today I'm ranking every film in the House film series from worst to best. In fourth place is The Horror Show, also known as House 3, The Horror Show. Released in 1989 and directed by James Isaac and David Blythe and written by Alan Warner and Leslie Boehm. Originally intended as an entry into the House series and sequel to House 2, it was marketed as unrelated due to its intense themes compared to earlier films. In this film, Detective Lucas McCarthy finally apprehends Meat Cleaver Max and watches the electric chair execution from the audience, but killing Max Jenke only elevated him to another level of reality. I didn't remotely like this one. It has the same plot a handful of movies had done that year prior to this one, and some of them did it better, but mostly this movie feels to me like it ripped off A Nightmare on Elm Street. The dream aspects and some killers stalking them and killing them through dreams, especially after being executed, that's very much the plot of A Nightmare on Elm Street. And so for me, the film and the killer just felt like a bad Freddy Krueger ripoff. However, people have compared it to Wes Craven's Shocker, a film I hadn't heard of, but then I checked out the plot. A film released that same year, it follows a serial killer sent to the electric chair who then uses electricity to come back from the dead and carry out his vengeance on the football player who turned him into the police. I have to admit, that sounds identical to The Horror Show. Though Horror Show was released first, I don't actually know which went into production first though. The film talked itself up calling itself too intense, but mostly what I got from this film was tedium and random graphic violence that just feels out of place. In third place is House, released in 1986 and directed by Steve Miner with a screenplay by Ethan Wiley from a story by Fred Dekker. It's the first film in the House film series. The film tells the story of a troubled author who lives in his deceased aunt's house and soon falls victim to the house being haunted. It's interesting, but not interesting, and I can definitely see the horror and the comedy, though I didn't find the comedy all that amusing. It's bizarre, but makes sense. There's just so many conflicting thoughts and feelings about this movie, not to mention it seems like Don't Knock Twice totally copied this movie poster. As they say, everything old is new again. I'm smack bam in the middle of liking it and not liking it. In a single scene, I can witness something I love, and then 2 seconds later witness something I equally dislike, and it was like that for the entire film for me. It gives my receptors whiplash and definitely messes with my head a bit. I'm very curious as to what I'd think by giving it another watch. I feel the film is somewhere between good and bad, so I guess my opinions on this film are kind of in limbo. In second place is House 2, The Second Story, released in 1987 and directed by Ethan Wiley with a screenplay by Wiley from a story by Fred Dekker. While it is a sequel to the 1986 film, it does not involve the storyline or characters from the first film. In it, the new owner of a sinister house gets involved with reanimated corpses and demons searching for an ancient Aztec skull with magic powers. I enjoyed this one much more than the first film. Obviously, you can tell that because of where it is in this ranking. It's weird and crazy, but fun and light and quite entertaining. I can see the horror and comedy blend, though it feels more of a straight-up comedy. Surprised to see Bill Maher in this, although I'm noticing there is no difference between Bill Maher when he acts and Bill Maher when he is being himself. Not much talent going on here. Nevertheless, I find the story and the series of events bizarre and entertaining. It's not a perfect film, but it's definitely a film I had fun with. Maybe it's because this film has a touch of campiness to it and I love almost anything that's campy, so maybe that's why I got into this one a bit more. And in first place is House 4, also known as House 4 The Repossession. It's released in 1992 and directed by Louis Abernathy with a screenplay by Geoff Miller and Deirdre Higgins from a story by Miller, Higgins, Jim Wynorski and R.J. Robertson. This film is the official third and final installment of the House series and sees Roger Cobb killed in a car accident. His family must move into the house that has haunted him for several years. Soon the family begins to experience scary and unexplained phenomena. Obviously, I put this first, so it's clear I enjoyed this the most of the series. The plot was at least logical and easier to follow with clear motivations from its characters. While it has supernatural elements, it feels more human, but as for being a comedy horror, it's gone the opposite of the second film, and in this case doesn't appear to have any comedy in it. I know it's classified as a horror comedy, but I didn't personally see where the comedy was, and I was okay with that. It just appears to be an old-fashioned horror flick, which I liked. But as I said, I enjoyed this plot the most. It was easy to follow and get invested in the story and characters, and I thought the performances were pretty good, all things considered. I think this film allows the series to end on a high. It's not some big budget production worth millions, so no one should go into this film or any other film in the series expecting Oscar-worthy films, but for what it is, it's fun. I know the first film was a big hit and a lot of people love that film, which is fine and I respect it. Personally, I find this series to be very hit or miss, and what were hits and misses for me aren't going to be that for the next person. But that's the beauty and nature of films and film opinion. It's always going to be different. Nevertheless, that is it for this video. Be sure to comment below with your thoughts if you have seen any of these films, and if you've seen them all, then let me know how you would rank them. That is it for this video. Thank you as always to my kick-ass patrons who rock. To everyone watching, be safe and courteous, and I hope to catch you in my next video. But until then, bye!